have seen me at random things before. I've been trying to help find first years in particular. It's tough, so I've been trying to get out there. Nice to see some of you again. And I volunteered to help be one of the lead principals on the fund this year with my better looking counterpart.
Hello everyone, I'm Jake, also a student co-lead for the Haas Social Responsible Investment Fund, or HSRIF. And yeah, we're working on the fund right now for this year and managing a little bit over the summer as well. I'm just going to tell you more about it.
I will admit, just to like level set, I look back on this and think I'm like chuckling at how confident those second years seemed telling us about the fund last year, when the reality was we were like 4 weeks into the school year, which is where we are right now. So we'll tell you about our first month on the fund, but check with us, you know, as the year goes on, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more experiences to reflect on. And for those of you who end up choosing the fund, by May will be a whole lot more useful. So we'll go and give you what we know today, and keep in mind it's a work in progress because it happens throughout the school year. So, what's the fund? The goal around the fund, basically, I have a little history of it. No. So, this was started in 2009, 8?
It's almost 20 years old.
No.
Sorry, no.
10.
10 years old.
10.
Okay.
10.
I know it was
my anniversaries.
post the last recession, because I keep joking we're going to be like the first year to lose money because we've been in such a strong economy since this fund started. So it started by some alumni and a professor here, Kelly McElhaney, who now teaches equity fluent leadership. I think she was the initial, right? Spark
Along
of this.
with Joe Mackness.
With Joe Mackness.
Laura Tyson.
Thank you. And Laura, who you heard at week 0. Is anyone here not in a first year MBA? As I keep referencing MBA specific things. Hi.
Hi.
We had week 0, and the interim dean of the business school talked about one of the cases that she was the author of. So that's who Laura Tyson is. And I think Kelly also spoke at orientation, and I don't think Joe was around. So 2 out of 3. So they really wanted to create a hands-on learning experience, create a different opportunity, and also get alumni involved. We have, you know, a big investment community in our alumni base, but it's not necessarily the first thing people talk about when they talk about the MBA program at Berkeley. So how could we really elevate it, but elevate it in a distinct way? And so the Haas Socially Investment Fund came to be thanks to some generous alumni who were willing to donate some of their own money to also put skin in the game. And one of the cool things about it then is now we're not just managing the money, but we're also trying to add some unique value to the field of socially responsible investing. So what does it mean to find and explore new ideas around hidden value based on ESG practices? That has obviously exploded in the last decade since this fund was started. Like, impact investing is the new phrase, and there's a lot more conversation about socially responsible investing, but the reality is that it's still evolving and growing. And it's pretty, Jake and I have gotten 10 emails from people at other business schools this summer, digging for info, like, how do we do what you do at our program?
Don't share with them.
You direct them to the report on the website, which fortunately, I mean, it actually is very generous in how much info it shares about the fund and how it came to be. So fortunately, a limited conflict of interest there. But other business schools are very excited. They want to know how we did it. They're trying to do similar things, maybe differently structured capital. But yeah, it's been pretty popular. So what is it? It's $3 million now. It's definitely a lot more than it used to be. And we've had a lot of really good returns since it was first started. We are doing kickbacks to the CRB every year. I think they scrape 4%? Around there every year. So it also is now a reliable funding stream for the Center for Responsible Business. So that keeps everybody aligned internally here at Haas about keeping the fund strong and keeping it moving forward, because a variety of folks are benefiting from the fact that this fund exists. It's a student-led course, and so that means that next year there will be other people helping lead, but the reality is Jake and I kind of more talk to the professors, I would say, but everybody really steps up and pitches in a lot, contributes their ideas, and shapes the experience. We generally have a longer term focus, like as we think about what to buy, sell, or hold. We hold on to equities for a long time. We're not in the business of shorting stocks. The We want to buy things we believe in, which means we don't expect to dump them quickly. And it's all publicly traded equities based on ESG standards, how we decide to define and analyze their ESG performance, like what does good mean? To what extent are these companies good and in what areas? Because there's a lot of different ways to be good. A new layer that they added was somehow the fund had escaped the defining principles until last year. No longer. The principles are in. So as we think about each position we hold and align to Berkeley Haas, what is the principle that most strongly aligns with the way that company runs? Let's make sure that we're actually checking into that. So, obviously questioning the status quo, companies are always innovating. There's a variety of ways companies can live into these 4 defining principles. The mini paragraph definition of how we chose the final policy was to apply the principles to each position is in that report. So this is a newer layer that has been added on. For the team itself, Jake and I introduced ourselves. Does everybody here know you already?
No.
Okay.
There's bits and.
You're not even on this slide.
It's
I feel like a
fine.
jerk.
Behind the scenes.
Sorry, I'll blame it on last year's career since this is the partially borrowed deck.
I'm Sarah, and I'm the Associate Director at the Center for Responsible Business, and I kind of oversee all of our sustainable investment and finance activities at the center. I'm the one who's reading all your applications for this, as well as every other finance program you might be applying for. And I'm kind of the go-to person for the year if there's issues that come up, and help select the 2 student leads as well. I will obviously be out for a bit this fall, but we'll be back full-time by the time you guys start.
Thanks. Yeah, she knows everything, so any questions, go to her. Then otherwise, Robert Strand is the Executive Director of the Center for Responsible Business. If you haven't hit up a coffee chat yet with him, highly recommend. He's a very, very friendly guy and knows a ton. Our 2 faculty who are actually in the room with us every week are Dan Hansen and Sam Oleski. Sam's a new addition to the fund. Dan actually sometimes calls in from New York. That's where his office is. So all of us are in a room together for the most part each week, and then those are the 2 faculty who are kind of keeping tabs, hold some of the historical knowledge of how the fund has evolved, and are there to answer questions and deliver some content or industry expertise when we need it. And as far as our investment process, we are looking at reputation, governance, accounting, industry, and turnaround for who we buy. For due diligence, so this takes the form of presentations on each position. You would be in charge of 1 company and sharing your financial analysis and ESG analysis of why do we own this company. Originally, somebody bought it, some fund year bought it because they thought it was good. Is it still good? Are they having issues? Have they slipped? Are they better? So to what extent do the initial financial and ESG analysis still hold up? And then any other background information that's pertinent to the class that we want to get added into the way that we're thinking about what to do with that position. So we've already had a couple recommendations this year to buy, some was we should invest more, we should have a higher percentage of our portfolio in this. Another was to hold. We got 2 new pitches, right, of new things that we could buy and why. So lots of opportunity to bring in partnership if desired, especially if you have less financial background and are wanting to make sure you're providing a really robust, responsible financial analysis. Totally possible to pair up with people on the first run through yours to make sure that you are doing so, but lots of opportunity to, in partnership, present, why are we still holding on to this and should we be? And for feedback and voting, basically it's a presentation pitch to all of your classmates. You exchange, you take a vote, we make sure that we're on the same page about responsible investment decisions, and then we move forward on executing on that. So since we just got the portfolio, we haven't actually done anything quite yet. So we will continue to work through it. We did have a pretty robust email debate about what to do with Force Solar. I don't think we landed on any decisions yet.
Yeah, no, it's definitely in the pipeline, and even go back to the last slide in terms of the investment process. I'd say this is a class, but you mentioned it's student run, so it kind of blends a very, very collaborative environment. Like you talked about people teaming up for presentations or pitches, or prioritizing what we should be talking about in the portfolio. So it feels like you're kind of going back to work if we had some of the academic takeaways if this is kind of new for you. Right, we have like, 30 positions or something like that, and then we also have some funds that we also manage within the portfolio, and then she was kind of flipping to some of those companies.
Yeah, I guess we could have added, some of the index funds that we hold now, but basically in the past too, I think last year added the index funds. So another realization was we all go and take this asset management class and talk about balanced portfolios, and then we get to our portfolio in HSRIF and it's all equities and it's really over indexed in tech. So last year's fund took quite a few moves to reconcile that cognitive dissonance that we were seeing. And now we are holding these positions in addition to some other, like a couple of index funds. So there's, again, in the report online, there's information about like why these companies, how they did, and how the portfolio is balanced across industry too. But these are just a couple of the positions we hold. We also have, any questions on the positions? Sorry.
The only thing I would also add is last year they also decided to do some activist investing. So in the past it was kind of traditional SRI where you'd only invest in a company if you 100% kind of agreed with it. And the fund last year decided to have a robust discussion about Facebook, especially with the privacy concerns and things that are coming out. So instead they decided to hold that and join a shareholder activism letter and join with a number of groups to write a letter to Facebook in collaboration with some very big investors in the field. So that's kind of a shift in the fund as well, moving towards a more active investment approach.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so it's sort of the balance of trying to find companies that are already good and reinforcing that and validating that by owning a position in their company, but then also looking for companies that are on the rise, supporting that, getting involved a little more actively and what that might look like. So last year's fund really started paving the way on that. The advisory board. Oh, yay.
How are you thinking about risk management? It sounds like there's a 3-year horizon, but given kind of where we are in the equity cycle, like, are you putting stop losses in place? Like, how are you kind of imagining this fund evolve over the next downturn?
Yeah, I mean, I can grab that question. So stop losses isn't usually a really appropriate kind of investment vehicle for us, just given that that's more like if you're trading more short term, and since our time horizon is 3 to 5 years, it's like, okay, if you're looking at possible drawdown of a large magnitude, like a recession or something like that, I think we'd probably try to approach it as we would any kind of normal situation. Maybe that's an opportunity to double down. Or if this company already has high volatility, we might not put that in our portfolio at the first place since we do have the 4% drawdown from the CRB. And then we also have a risk management committee and performance committee as well, since we have so many different principles. So people who are just literally looking at that and maybe doing a little more analytics, whether it's VAR or other types of tools, to understand how our portfolio might react in different market environments.
So when you're pitching an idea, you're just pitching kind of long-term value rather than necessarily potential exits, or what would cause this thesis to go awry? Or
I think
the independent risk management committee looking at that, it sounds like. So
I would say that would probably still go to the analysts working on it. They would still incorporate the risks in their pitch in the portfolio. For example, we did Prudential, and that was a company that we had. We thought we would give an opportunity to double down here maybe. And then the answer would be responsible to say, okay, this is why I think it could go up, but then this is also the reasons why it might go down. And then you kind of have an active debate about that. So I'd say yeah, we have the risk committee in general, but then each person is kind of still doing work on their own to kind of better understand.
Any questions? So the advisory committee, I hopped on the advisory board relations committee. That's not the exact name, but basically thinking through with one of our classmates around how do we want to more actively involve them. Basically, we talk to them twice a semester, give them updates. Some of these people are the ones who had a financial stake in it from the get-go, so they are financially and emotionally invested in our success. They're excited about it, and we want to make sure that they continue to feel super connected to it, and that we're able to lean on some of them, especially their areas of expertise, like Charlie Michaels can't wait to help talk to us more about performance, like that's his thing, so he's trying to make sure that we're making as much money as we can, and how do we continue to pull people into the mix. I think we're gonna be adding most likely one more board member this year who's a recent alum, so thinking through what type of board structure would we like. Let's have a recent alum on there who's been recently in it with us and can kind of also carry over that institutional knowledge, not only relying on the faculty to do it, but some of the other principals who've been on it recently. So a lot of opportunity through those calls, through them coming into the classroom to hang out with us, and then through, just being on the fund, your own opportunity outreach to interact with these advisors and learn from them or get to know them. I was really just, it's always amazing to talk to alumni who are super excited and willing to give their time, and this crew is no exception. Any question about the advisory board? They don't really tell us what to do. They really check in on us, listen, praise the things they like, ask some questions to push us further, maybe areas of constructive criticism if something's really, like they see it like, Charlie's like, let's make more money. But yeah, they're really just there for us in the role that we are requesting.
Those are not the dates, those are from last year, skip that slide.
Did they update it?
The top one is not, the application's not released on the 2nd. It's already live, actually.
Okay, so.
But everything else is good.
Everything else is right. Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
You wanna talk through this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, application. As you've probably noticed, a lot of things are due on Sunday, September 23rd. And that's because we want you guys to really prioritize which things you're most passionate about. So, HSRIFs due by Sunday at midnight. A reminder, this is a 1.5 year commitment. So if you get accepted into the fund, you are expected to pre-enroll in asset management and socially responsible investing this spring. That's a change. In the past, you would get automatically enrolled and lose your bid points. Thanks to Laura's tenacity, she has convinced the program office and everyone else to remove that. So now you just enroll yourself, so you don't have to worry about those lost bid points, and you can bid for other classes. For your 2nd year, you will have a small loss in bid points, because that is when you're active on the fund. The other thing to know is people always ask, like, what are you looking for? I don't have a finance background, or on the flip, I have a finance background but have no social impact background. Really what we're looking for is that you understand the commitment and that you're committed. Those are the only two things. We're trying to get a cohort that's as diverse as possible in background. So we generally, it evens out to about 50-50 students with social impact backgrounds and students with strong finance investment. So don't worry about your background, just worry about understanding the commitment and your dedication to it. And then, we let you know by Friday the 5th, if not before then, if you got in. And then that gives you the weekend to shoot me an email and say, yes, I'm accepting my spot, or actually, no, I've thought about it and I don't want a slot this year.
And you find that out before bidding?
Yes, so you find that out before bidding, so you'll know in advance whether or not you need to self-enroll in those other classes. I think that's it. Any other questions about application? Yes, lots of questions.
Yeah, just so I think it's 2 credits for the spring, right? For the
3.
It's 3 credits.
Yes.
And then how many credits for the 2nd year?
It's 2 per semester.
2 per semester.
But I would say the workload is equivalent to more than 2 credits. So if you're basing the workload on the credits, it's higher than a 2 credit class. But if you're just thinking about what else you can bid for, it's just 2 credits.
And then as far as time commitment, everybody is keeping an eye on one position for the summer. So for example, when Solar faced some stuff, that person was responsible for emailing out an analysis to talk about, is it so bad that we need to sell this right now, or what do you recommend? Starbucks also had some movement this summer, so that person was responsible for sending out their analysis around what we should do. So there is an expectation of you keeping an eye on the position that you sign yourself up for over the summer before the fund begins. Most of the rest of the summer work is the 2 lead principals syncing up with the professors and such.
And during the 2nd year, how much time per week?
We're in class an hour and a half a week, and then it's Thursdays, right now at least, Thursdays for an hour and a half. And then it kind of depends, you know, are you doing the 20-minute presentation that week, or are you the class facilitator that week? There's roles that move around, so I wouldn't say it's steady week to week. It fluctuates depending on what you're on that week.
And there's some readings and things like that, so like, if you wanna dig deeper.
And I would say it's definitely a what you put in, what you get out class. So students in the past who've really spent a lot of time taking on side projects, like, hey, I noticed the fund doesn't have this structure in place, I'm gonna set that up. You can get a lot of opportunity the more you engage. Or Dan will set up like, hey, here are all these conferences and networking events and breakfasts and lunches that I can get you invites to. So it allows you a breadth of options for engagement. I believe you had a question.
It was the same question.
Okay, great. Perfect. And I know some of you with a finance background might also be interested in waiving the asset management option. So what we'll be doing is, once you find out if you get in on the 5th, I'll be saying in that email, if you plan on waiving asset management, you need to submit a letter with your acceptance of your spot. And then that gets run by the finance faculty and the finance chair, and they determine who gets to waive out of that class.
So given that it's a 1.5 year commitment, so for those of us thinking about going to exchange the first semester and the second year, so it's not the last two.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you're thinking about doing exchange, you can't participate.
And then quick plug to sign up for those classes this spring. Sarah mentioned it, but this is the first year we're trying not deducting bid points for asset management and socially responsible investment. So if you had to take both of those, you lost 500 points in the spring previously. So that means your first spring IBD was off the list, like not even an option. So that was that, or if you were interested in entrepreneurship, like you could not do both. And so it was ending up costing people a lot that first spring. So you're the first group that we're trying the experiment of not losing bid points, which means all of you have to enroll in asset management and socially responsible investment anyways. So hold each other to that, please, so that the next class gets to keep that same privilege, and we don't end up forcing too many trade-offs for people who want to do the fund. The reality is the bulk of the fund part and the like leaderless group craziness of running the fund is all second year, and like navigating how do we run this thing together as we get to know each other and are actually sitting on a pile of money that we're responsible for. So since that's the really exciting part, didn't want to penalize people too much the year prior, which does mean the asset management and SRI don't typically bid out. So this is you don't get guaranteed spots because we assume that everybody will be able to enroll. That said, like, yes, enroll, so that we can keep this true for classes in the future.
I don't want to deal with the angry program office on that leave, so please.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
What are the requirements for waiving asset management?
So it can be multifaceted. So one, you can have a very strong investment professional background, so you've been an asset manager before.
Does it have to be secondary market?
It does not have to necessarily be that, yeah. So I think it can be a mix of, hey, my undergrad, I focused entirely on this, I don't need to, here's all my classes I took. Or I've been working in the field for 10 years. Or I'm currently, especially evening weekend, I'm currently an asset manager. I do not need to take this class.
Where do you see people that go through the process? Are they mostly graduating and going into investment management in like either socially responsible investing or just investment management more broadly, or other paths?
Good question. I would say it varies. I'll have Jake share his future path, but so for myself, for example, I was a social impact background. I mostly want to learn about this because responsible public finance is going to be a big issue in our lifetime, especially around pensions. I've been in education, and pensions are already really pressing the system in a way that has undesirable consequences. So I wanted to understand, what does it mean to invest well, make the money you need to cover costs, but without sacrificing values. So for me, it's more like, this is something I want to learn, and I'd rather learn it running a fund than sitting in a class that's a little more lecture oriented. So for me, this was a really exciting way to achieve the learning goal. So I probably won't be pursuing a career related to asset management, but it's something that for my field that I love, I need to understand.
We've also tracked all of our alumni and where they are working.
Where are you going? Well, the Jake share where he's going to. What do you do? Ish.
Yeah, so I can help in Q&A as well. But from a background perspective, like Sharon said, they try to have like a really diverse group. So for me personally, I just came to Haas from finance and plan on staying in finance. So this was just like a very like key opportunity for me to like manage money while I'm at school. So it was like pretty high on my priority list. Because I mean, you go to most business schools, they might have like a small student fund, but it's like might be your only opportunity. But here you can do the small student fund, but then also have the social responsible side. So like this summer, I worked at a social responsible investment firm. So this was like very, very valuable experience. And then I can also kind of bring that experience with me to the fund this year as well. But I'd say, you know, like the principals last year, some of them went to tech or started their own companies in social responsible investing. Like,
Sam started a donor advised fund.
yeah, and then, but then some people also just went the classic asset management route as well.
So we have on the FAQs on our website, if you click in there, we have the tracker of all the alums since the start of the fund. So you can kind of click through and see where each of them are. This is the first year we've had so many principals. There used to be only 6 to 8 principals on it. So you'll only see kind of a smaller cohort, but the majority end up at consulting firms or at investment firms. The vast majority. Sorry.
I didn't realize there was someone at each school. Oh, Zayna. I didn't know she was fun. Yeah.
Thank you.
Have any other questions?
Anything you're like most concerned about? I heard some concerns around the credit trade-offs.
So is a fund usually focused on investing on like these really large companies because of the portfolio that I saw? Or are you like looking for mission-driven companies, or is it more of what you're getting out of the fund to actually be able to give back to the CRV? Like, I don't know what kind of is. I know the list is there, but what's the protocol basically?
Yeah, so the mandate is to invest in publicly traded companies. So you have to think about it from that lens, and then we're trying to have a financial return, right? So we want the social impact, social responsible component. So companies with responsible supply chain, very positive environmental footprint, responsible social governance, diversity, some of those core key competencies that we look in like good companies, but then also have the right like financial metrics and fundamentals. So we do have some companies that might, you know, have the mission-driven impact, like First Solar is a great example, but we don't, that's not like the exact objective. We want to make sure that this is a company or an opportunity that has like a positive IRR as we look at it from like a fundamental standpoint. But then, you know, sometimes some of these companies that are emerging, especially that have like a really good idea, but the business model isn't 100% figured out yet, we kind of want to stay on the sidelines. It's all public companies, it's not private companies.
And yeah, it's also guided by like industry weighting. We don't want to hold all tech. Like this report will help you see quite a few of the criteria. It's long, but quite a few of the criteria that are all sort of weighing in.
How are you guys looking at like ESG ratings? Are you using like Sustainalytics or something like that, or is it more subjective? How are you measuring that?
We have access to blanking.
MSCI. Lily was on it earlier today. We definitely have access to like different types of third-party research, but we also encourage our principals to do their own research and dig down, because you can only learn so much in like corporate social responsibility reports that companies send out that they paid for by their PR teams. So we kind of like dig in there, and then we also have an ESG like checklist committee as well. So we have a couple people who are also fine-tuning that this year, and that's kind of one of our high priorities.
I don't know if Dan's gotten to this yet in the class, but Dan's very, very passionate about looking beyond the rating systems and is very skeptical about them. So he very much shies away from using those Sustainalytics, MSCI, all of those, and really understanding like what goes into that type of rating, and then making your decision based on that, not on the ratings alone.
And ideally, maybe chatting with some people who are there.
And then think about like materiality.
What matters
Yeah.
most. How much turnover? I mean, I know you guys just started, but if you have any sense of like how much turnover is there in a year? Like how many names are you buying? Like new
good question. Given the 3 to 5 year hold,
Yeah.
I think you can expect the turnover, 20%, maybe not in that range, but it's, I don't think that's even that high, to be honest. I think that's what we say, but we hold a lot of these companies for a really long time. Just to give you more anecdotal data, like I think last year they added 2 new games, kind of towards the tail end, right? So it's like maybe 4 names. Okay.
Added new names, I don't know if they sold anything though.
They didn't sell anything.
Yeah.
So
We've also been we've been a good market, so they've had extra cash on hand usually at the end of the year, so if anything, they're like, oh, this stock exploded, we need to rebalance, where should we move some of that money to? So if anything's been adding positions.
yeah, and I think those are just really contextual in the market environment. So I think that with the 3 to 5 year, you can kind of get a sense of the turnover. So like 20 on the low end, 33% on the high end, but it's probably a lot longer than that. And then we just haven't sold that much. But we have the like agency to kind of pick and choose. And then before I get to your question, last year, like before that, they added some of the like the fixed income social responsible fund to like diversify our mix and reduce our risks.
There used to be a lot more turnover, which was what was of concern, because it was not operating as a long-term fund, which was the intent of it. So really in the last 2 years, the principals and the professors have really worked hard to balance the portfolio and make it an actual long-term investment.
Are there tax considerations, does that go into the investment metrics, and is it set up as like a 367 fund, or is it kind of like a foundation, how is the kind of structure?
What was the first part of that?
Tax considerations, or like, when you take profits, how are you gonna?
Yeah, because it's a part of the endowment and stuff that you don't have to really worry about. You don't worry about the tax, and then you have the 4% cut, so you keep your tax exempt status for the long term. That's not something we really have to think about too much, given that we work in a public school environment. So we really don't have to pay taxes or have to optimize the portfolio.
No, that's great.
That's also why we can't accept, so every year we get outside people who are like, I'd like to invest and then be able to pull my money out, and that's not possible. So any investment that we have is technically a donation, to preserve kind of that easy tax status and everything else.
That's great.
Does the year-end report of what the fund has done contain anything about like trying to assess the impact of what our investment has done from like an ESG standpoint?
I think we talked about some of the activism that Aaron talked about, so I don't think our capital specifically has like implemented the change necessarily, but I think that a lot of principals last year did a lot of hard work. I think a great case study of that was the investment with Facebook, and then they sent a letter and co-signed it with some other social responsible investors in the community, talking about some of the weaknesses that they have from an ESG perspective, privacy concerns, and the impact of doing far-reaching impact they have to like pretty much generations, and that they need to be responsible with that kind of power.
So I'm not super familiar with ESG investing. When public companies, because they're like obligated to maximize their shareholder value, do they take into account what % of their shareholders are investing from an ESG perspective, where they care about other impacts, other like returns other than just financial returns, or?
I think that's an interesting premise, to be honest. I think a lot of like investors don't necessarily think that a company needs to just maximize profits by any way, any means necessary. I think you'll go through that, and I think some stuff we'll talk about in the second half with Friedman's quote that always gets left out. But I think the reality is, like, the companies that we want to invest in, if they have, which the G is a big part for me, with good governance, where it's like they're thinking about their quality chain, they're not just trying to chase the quarter to have some short-term gains, and then have the far-reaching costs, either economical, social, or what have you. Long run, that's going to hurt the company anyways, and those are going to affect your future profits and discount the total value of your company. So I think that's kind of how we approach it, and we think like, I mean, our big thesis is that more people are going to care about social responsible investing. It's not going to just be like, these guys over here love green in the trees, and these guys here like money. Yeah, it's just not our worldview, I guess.
And I would say from the research perspective, there really hasn't been much research on the ESG investing, the impact on the company. It's been more about how ESG investing does not necessarily mean you're sacrificing returns. So it's been more on the investor side. There's been very little research on the does this actually change a company? There's been more of that on kind of the shareholder activism and letters and the impact investing space, but not on the ESG investing. It's kind of a blank box still.
And do you do, like, I understand that if the fund is rather long-term, you're not doing any short selling of companies that you feel like they are not doing well at all in terms of ESG or ethics or whatever? Or do you have some approach? Like,
We're not a social responsible long-short equity fund. I wouldn't describe us as such, but I think like we've definitely talked about that as like, oh, could that be like an antithesis, right? And say, okay, this company clearly doesn't care about these issues. They're probably gonna downturn, but we wouldn't put capital work on that kind of thesis. But definitely, it's like an intellectually interesting conversation.
At this point, we've held many of the positions for long enough that we could sell them if they did something terrible. Like, we've held them for 3 to 5 years, so even with that goal, we're at a time horizon now of when most of them were purchased, that if something really egregious came up, so it's not like we don't ever sell.
Okay.
We could if we needed to.
All right.
Yeah.
And the only logistics thing I would add is if you haven't grabbed FAQs, do that on your way out. And if you didn't receive the email from me this weekend reminding you of the deadlines and such, we got some email bounce backs, just make sure you've signed up there so I have your most recent email address. We did film it in case this session, in case any of your peers weren't able to come, and we'll put that link on the application, so please let anyone know who wasn't able to come, and let us know if you have questions before the applications are due.
And that's my email and Jake's email. So feel free to hit us up if you have additional questions, concerns, want to know what other things we were deciding between at Haas a number of years ago, being totally overwhelmed with the options. So seriously, anything.
If you want to stop by the class.
Okay.
See you.
When is the class?
Thursdays.
12:30 to 2 in N270.